Hey there. Welcome to the closing bell on the 1st of November, racing towards the end of the year and the US election next week. I have recently said, take some profits leading into that. We're seeing the market selling off today with the US markets sort of hammered last night. I think Meta came out with results which weren't taken very well. But yeah, I think there's a bit of fear around what's going to happen next week. So I've already given you warnings on that. And so today I'm going to share with you a US based company that I think is looking interesting. And I thought I'd kick off by showing you a company that I gave you, what's that, in the middle of, the end of last year, so about a year ago. I don't often give you guys a international stock or US-based company. I don't trade them much. I don't trade them at all in the services I run, the retirement trader and microcap trading service. So when I do see one, I'm always trying to show you guys what I can do so that you can check out my work and hopefully make a few bucks, and maybe you'll spend a few bucks on joining my service. That would be a good thing. And make sure you do click on the link below the video to the lessons, which I have written a big document for you, showing you what I've really learned over the last 3 decades of trading. And so if you want a crash course in how markets really behave, how you can make money in them, make sure you go and check that out. Have a read of that document I put together for you. You'll definitely walk away with some interesting insights, I think, whatever level of trading and investing you're at. But to kick off, this is Spotify technology, and obviously the music. I use Spotify myself. I really love them, and I actually gave you guys a closing bell video when they were trading around here, about 150 bucks. A year ago, I've received emails from people saying they bought it and saying thank you very much, because since I gave that tip in Closing Bell, which was just for Closing Bell people, it has rallied from 150 bucks and closed 385 bucks last night. And it's not over yet. It's all the way at the top of the range. The highest price it's been at ever. So that was a really great tip I gave you guys. I'm going to give you another one today. And the reason I went into that one or showed you why I really liked it was because it had this wave back in 2019 to 2021, huge rally, and then we had the correction, which was a really bad one, where it actually went down and went below the lowest price it had been at. And so this is what I teach you guys, is that people place their stop losses below major lows, as you know. So below this area, below 100 bucks, would have been a lot of people stopping out below there. People who had bought it in here, they would have been sick of it. Obviously, there's lots of people stopping out in this area too when it was collapsing. So I like to wait until you then see signs of life, things turning around, the U-turn after and creating the false break, we call it, of the low, where it looks like it's failed, and then all of a sudden the buying comes back in. So that's when I start getting interested. You can see on this one, very clear buy pivot, where you've got prices heading down on that monthly chart, and we get the monthly close above the high of the lowest price candle in the move. So you're watching and waiting. So there's your monthly buy pivot, that large green candle there, and it started recovering. And that's why I was looking at it saying, well, we had the monthly trend turned up, and it was still in that buy zone area of the whole structure that it had been in. So that's looking at, that initial wave that we're talking about, saying, look, it's still in a pretty good area. The long-term trend had shifted. The bars were marching higher, and that's when I gave you that idea at about 150 bucks. So you can see there that has worked out beautifully. And that's the only international stock I've actually handed out over the last year. So let's have a look at the next one and consider the similarities to what I'm seeing there. So this company is called Roblox Corporation. Now, if any of you guys have kids, you probably know who they are. They have this platform for gaming, for kids, young kids gaming, and where kids can actually make games themselves, but anyone can, upload games based on their platform, and obviously professional outfits put games there as well. There's just absolutely heaps of games on the platform. And my son's been pretty much addicted to it since he was a little tacker, and I've plugged in plenty of money to them, buying what they call Robux, which is the money within the game to buy certain things, get yourself a better car, a better this, a better that. And as I kept plowing more money into it, I thought, well, I wouldn't mind owning the company. Um, because if it takes off around the world, and I can just see them printing money. But it's taken a long time. They're still losing money, but they're growing rapidly. So you can see that they've actually had a bit of a tough time. And if we're looking at how they've traded since listing, again, where I look at these key waves, where we've had that rally up into 2022, going from about 60 bucks up to about 140. And so I'm looking at that low, and you can see there was obviously a big clear out below there. The stock really getting hammered down to about 25 bucks. So it really has had a tough time for the last few years. It's been stuck in a range, and this is where it sort of gets interesting, I guess, is when a company is stuck in a range for a long time. You're looking at that and waiting for the point where it can actually bust out, especially if it's to the upside, because once it does get going, it can have quite a sharp move once that range is finished. So there's obviously been, a lot of buying of the company in this area. And then we've got the clear out, which occurred. So a lot of those investors have been taken out, and it's been a pretty difficult investment for a long time. So, market losing interest in it. But now we've just had a quarterly result come out, and it's sparked a very strong session last night, which has got me interested. So I thought I'd just show you some of the figures so you can just get a sense of what's going on. But it feels to me as if we're getting close to this range being done. And you can see there it's got the start of a long-term uptrend, and the beginning of that higher highs and higher lows. And even if it has to do a bit of this, we're starting to get that sense of the rounding bottom and of things starting to be on the up for them. So let's jump to the figures to just give you a sense of what's going on. So the first thing to point out is that there has been this short report where someone's come out talking about Roblox and saying that they're overshooting their numbers, or lying about the amount of engagement they're getting, etc., that it's a dangerous place for kids online. And look, I've watched the actual my son playing on it for years, and he's had no problem that I've seen. It's been very safe, and they kick them off if they even swear for a day or two, and that sort of thing. So they really do keep a close eye on things. But this short report is what made the company sell off over the last month. And then they've come out with the results just last night. And it's just interesting to see how they've been going. They're, really good growth in sort of the numbers of engagement that's going on at the moment. So in quarter three, they had what, 919 million, this is US, in revenue, and that's growth of 29% year over year. And what is most interesting is that it really is surpassing expectations by quite a long way. They were expecting 860 to 885 million. Also the bookings, so that's when you're getting virtual purchases. That's what I'm talking about, where online you can buy these Robux and buy these things on there. That's 34% growth to 1.1 billion. Now this is the market cap's around 50 billion, so it is seen as a growth company. But these growth numbers are really pretty impressive, and just think of it worldwide. These kids on there, they stay on there for ages. They hit their parents up for money so they can buy things on there. And there's absolutely heaps of games for them to play on there, so they can be locked into that platform for a long time. So the engagement, 27% increase from the previous year. They've had really strong growth in the Asia Pacific region. Japan, 59% growth, 55% growth in India. And age under 13 accounts up over 60%. So some really big growth numbers. And hours engaged, reflecting a 29% year over year increase in hours spent on the platform. And even larger, in that Asia Pacific region, 45% growth. So they're seeing lots of really fabulous growth numbers. They're still on the edge of losing money, but they have, I think, cash flow positive. But just imagine this sort of growth going forward. We saw that with Spotify. I was saying, look, just imagine once that's kicking goals, you're locked into your music system. I know I won't be moving from Spotify. They'll end up ratcheting the cost up, but I think it's cheap at the price of what it is. So you've seen how much that company really grew, and I just think this Roblox, because I've poured so much money into them, I've thought, boy, extrapolate that across the world, and this could be a pretty serious company down the track. And the fact that it has had, a really tough time is making me think that this could be an opportunity to grab it after a prolonged period of going nowhere, and it's sort of returning to a previous range. So this is where I see that old low from when it listed, around 60 bucks. So for a very long period below there, it really has been a changing of the guard of investors, I'd say. People who bought it in here have given up in disgust over the last few years. So are we ready for, a new cycle? If these figures really start powering, where could it head down the track once it flips over to making money and revenue continues to grow at that pace? Sky's the limit, I guess. So I just think with that quarterly coming out, it was just an interesting moment where you could probably put a few in the bottom drawer and see whether this company can break out of the range that it has been in for so long. Because if we just look up really close and think about how this is evolving, that I look at these ranges and look at the areas inside and outside the range with how things move. And, you can see quite clearly, can't you, the fact that prices have spent a long time, bouncing around between that buy and sell zone. So that's the buy and sell zone there within the range. And then it's just, oscillating back and forth around that midpoint, which is around 38 bucks. And, that's just been the story for the last few years. So at some point that's going to break, and we've just had a retest of that midpoint point of control, and then we've got the good figures have just blasted it off to the upside through the sell zone of the range. So it's just a good chance for it now to try to bust out of the range and see whether it can get going. And I think those figures could be the catalyst for that. So if you do have exposure to the sort of international stocks and you like them, and if you made some money on that Spotify, here's my next one. I reckon Roblox is one to have a crack at. So there you go. Hopefully that one turns out just like Spotify. And if you want to learn a bit more about the theory, how it all works, yeah, please check out the lessons. You should be able to click on a link below the video, or press the little I in the top right corner of the video. You should be able to see, click on that, and then you'll be taken to some documents, and then click on those. And you can have a read, learn a bit about how I go about things. All right, cheers. I shall come back with more next week, and let's see how the election turns out. It could get wild and woolly for a bit. All right, see ya.